is going on, basketball fans? Today I got for you guys my first official NBA mock draft. We are going to do the full lottery for this one. Our next one will be the full first round. I also got my top 50 NBA draft prospects that I'm going to be coming out with here soon. We're going to have transfer portal updates, college basketball videos, NBA videos coming up for you guys here on the channel, so you don't want to miss it. Make sure you guys subscribe for more. And yeah, guys, I am ready to get into this mock draft. Let's go. So, like I said, the draft lottery was just a couple of days ago, so we now have our official teams who are going to be picking 1 through 14. So I'm very excited to get through this and go through this and see, what each of these teams' options are. Because I think that with how the lottery turned out, with the Atlanta Hawks getting the number 1 overall pick, big shock. They had, I think, like the second to worst odds of getting this pick. And there was already a ton of rumors about Trae Young getting traded, DeJounte Murray getting traded, about them completely blowing up this roster and going into rebuild mode. So that could either, stop those talks or really get those talks to happen a lot more. The Hawks have more options than anybody. Obviously, they have the number 1 pick. They can draft whoever they want, or they could trade this pick and try to, contend some more with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. So it is going to be very interesting what they do decide to do with this pick. I think the thing that you have to do in this mock draft at this point, without them making any moves, I think it has to be Alex Sarr. It has to be Alexander Sarr from France. Super solid player. They were saying Wemby 2.0. Is he going to be that? No. I don't think he's near as good of a shooter, nowhere near as good of a shooter as Wemby. But what can he do for you? He's going to be able to be a elite rim protector, which they are going to need on the Atlanta Hawks. I think Clint Capella is on the last year of his deal there. I think Alex Sarr is a player that you can have whether you decide to blow it all up or keep Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. He fits this team very well. I like Alex Sarr going here for the Hawks. You could argue Zachary Rizache. I don't think it's necessarily a good fit. You could put him there at the small forward position and then Jalen Johnson at the power forward position. I honestly wouldn't hate that at all because I think Rizache is going to be a pretty good player. He is, your Brandon Miller type player. He wasn't shooting that good from behind the 3-point line towards the end of the year. Before that, he was projected to go number 1 on everybody's boards. So next up, we do have the Washington Wizards. Now, I am a Wizards fan, and it has been interesting to see what people were saying we were going to do with this pick, because with Alex Sarr off the board, I think if Alex Sarr is there, if the Hawks end up taking, Rizache or somebody else, or end up trading that pick and someone else doesn't take Alex Sarr, I think the Wizards 100% take Sarr. But with Sarr off the board, that makes the Wizards pick a lot more interesting. I think that there are 2 options they could go. They could go point guard, or they could go for Donovan Clingan. Now, taking Donovan Clingan at 2 may be a little bit of a reach. As far as for me and my big board, here it says, they have him as the 3rd best player in the draft class. I have him a little bit lower. I wouldn't be completely against the Wizards taking Clingan here at number 2, though, because the Wizards have the worst defense in the entire NBA. They are terrible. They need a guy like Clingan who can block shots. He can still score in the post. He's going to be a good pick and roll player. He is going to help this team in so many ways, especially on the defensive defensive end of the floor. I wouldn't hate this, but I think the route I'm going to go with is point guard. I think you need to draft a guy with upside. If you are the Wizards, you are at the start of this rebuild, you need to draft a guy with upside, and with that point guard position being a big question mark right now, I think you got to go with either Nikola Topic or Rob Dillingham. I personally probably like Rob Dillingham more, but it is possible Nikola Topic does have the higher potential. He is 6'7" as a point guard. That is great to see as well. I'm going to go with Nikola Topic to the Washington Wizards at number 2. Now the Rockets sitting here at number 3. I did not expect the Rockets to be picking this high, but it makes it a little bit interesting. I think that this could be a key spot for the Rockets to potentially trade down. Maybe a team wanting to trade up to get Donovan Clingan, who they don't necessarily need, or trade up to get Zachary Rizache, who they really don't necessarily need. I mean, with them getting Cam Whitmore and Jabari Smith in recent drafts, it doesn't really make too much sense to go out there and get Rizache, who is going to be a similar type player for them. I think if they are not trading this pick, which I'm not doing trades in this mock draft, maybe my next one, which will be a full first-round draft, mock draft, not just the lottery, we will add trades in that for sure. But I think Rob Dillingham is going to go a lot higher than people expect. I've seen people saying Rob Dillingham might fall to the Spurs at 8. Now, do I think he could be a San Antonio Spur? 100%. But I think if he goes to the Spurs, it's going to have to be with the 4th pick, not the 8th pick. I think he's going to go a lot higher than what people think. I think him and Topic are a lot closer than what people think as far as a lot of people's draft boards. He may not be on mine. I think Topic and Rob Dillingham are like this close. I might actually like Rob Dillingham more than Topic. So I think if the Spurs are going to get him, it will be with the 4th pick. I actually have him going to the Rockets with the 3rd pick. I think it makes a lot of sense, with how their roster has folded. Yes, they do have Fred VanVleet as their point guard, but he's not really going to be the point guard of the future for them. They have a young squad everywhere else. I think Rob Dillingham, and honestly sitting behind Fred VanVleet for maybe a year, that might be perfect. I mean, Fred VanVleet is a good point guard, could teach Rob Dillingham a lot of stuff, and Rob Dillingham is the best scoring point guard in this draft class, 100%. I have him going 3 to the Rockets. Number 4, San Antonio Spurs. At this point, you gotta match. With Rizache falling this far to number 4, he's number 1 on some people's big boards. But the thing about this draft class, anyone could go number 1 at this point, honestly. For what, the Hawks could do, there are multiple people who could get number 1. This isn't your normal draft class where everybody knows Victor Wembanyama is going number 1. Everybody knows Zion Williamson is going number 1. It's not your normal draft class. This one doesn't have a lot of guaranteed talent towards the top. So it's very interesting. So Zachary Rizache, it is very possible he drops to number 4. And with him being from France and also Victor Wembanyama being from France, this gives the Spurs a nice lengthy wing to go along with Wemby. He can play small forward. He could play power forward. He could, honestly, if he works, he's a great ball handler. It wouldn't surprise me if he could maybe even play the 2-guard position after a couple of years. But I think, Devin Vassell at the 2-guard, you get Zachary Rizache at the small forward position would be awesome here for the Spurs to pair along with Victor Wembanyama. I just think you have to go with Rizache if he is available, especially if, Topic and Rob Dillingham are off the board, which I would like to see the Spurs get one of those 2 at 4, but Rizache is definitely not a bad pick for them. Next up, we have the Detroit Pistons. They were probably going to hope to get their hands on Rizache at number 5. I think that would be honestly a perfect pick, but the Pistons had a historically bad year this year, and for them to be picking 5 is a disappointment. For them to not get a top 3 pick after the season they had, you got to feel for the Detroit Pistons fans, but I'm going to try to help you guys out a little bit. I have a guy that is not high on this draft board at all, which is concerning for me, but I actually have Cody Williams going here. I'm a lot higher on Cody Williams than most people. I think that he could 100% be a top 5 pick. He is 6'8", very young at 19 years old, was a freshman at Colorado, shot over 40% from the three-point line, and is a 3-and-D player. And I think that's what the Pistons need. I see a lot of people taking Buzelis to the Pistons, which that makes a lot of sense as well. I just personally like Cody Williams more than Buzelis. I think that you kind of know what you're going to get with Cody Williams, but he also has some upside as well because he is very, very young. He can shoot the 3-ball. He can play the small forward. He can play the power forward position and stretch the floor for you, play some great defense. This is what the Pistons need. The Pistons do not need any more guards. They got Cade Cunningham. They got Jaden Ivey. They don't need any more bigs. They have a ton of big men. So plugging in Cody Williams as a 3-and-D small forward with some great potential, I think is an awesome pick here for the Pistons. So I have Cody Williams going a lot higher than some people, but he is higher on my board than some of these other guys. I would like to take a Ron Holland there for the Pistons. I would not hate that. I just don't think it's a good fit because you need shooting when you draft a wing there for the Pistons. The Pistons need shooting. They need to stretch the floor. You're not getting that as much with Ron Holland as you are with Cody Williams. Buzelis, yes, they project him to be able to shoot well from beyond the three-point line, but then when he was playing for G League Ignite, I think he shot under 30% from 3, where you have Cody Williams that shot over 40%. So that's kind of a big difference. Cody Williams is kind of proving it a little bit more, in my opinion. Next up, we do have the Charlotte Hornets, and you're sitting there and you got Donovan Clingan on the board that you could 100% take. However, I just don't know. You got Mark Williams as your center. I think that you feel pretty good about him being the center of the future. And with the Hornets, I think that they could use a 2-guard. And there's a 2-guard that some people project to go a lot higher than this, honestly. I think that there's 2 guards that, honestly, you pick which one would be better for the Hornets. I'm going to give them Reed Sheppard from Kentucky, but I think Stephon Castle could be a good shooting guard there from UConn as well. They give you a couple of different things. Reed Sheppard is going to give you the 3-point shooting, some shot-making ability. That would go great alongside LaMelo's playmaking ability. He's going to give you some playmaking too at 4.5 assists a game. That was pretty good, for a shooting guard. I like Reed Sheppard a lot here. For the Hornets at the 2-guard position to go along. You got a 1-2-3 of LaMelo Ball, Reed Sheppard, and Brandon Miller. That's a solid 3. Mark Williams down low. I like that a ton for the Hornets. For picking number 6, that's a good pickup for them. Next up, we do have the Portland Trail Blazers. This is going to be an interesting one, but I think there is a clear guy that they could get. Donovan Clingan again. I think if he gets past, honestly, the Wizards, if he doesn't go number 2 to the Wizards, Donovan Clingan could fall a little bit. I mean, some teams might just take him for value, but in this type of draft class, I think we're going to see some people fall. And right now I have a lot of guards going kind of higher than projected. So guys like Clingan could definitely fall because this is a draft class, like I said, doesn't have a ton of talent that you're like, okay, no matter who we have at that position, we cannot pass on him. I don't think there's a ton of guys like that in this draft class. I don't think Donovan Clingan is one of those guys that they're going to value him over a guy who could be a better fit. And with the Trailblazers having DeAndre Ayton, I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to take Clingan. I think Matas Buzelis from G League Ignite would fit the Blazers really, really good. He can play one of the wings. I think the Trailblazers 100% need to draft a wing, whether this is Buzelis, Cody Williams, maybe even a Ron Holland. I wouldn't be mad at. I think this pick has to be Buzelis or Ron Holland with the players on the board right here. Has to be Buzelis or Ron Holland with the players on the board. I think that that's the best fit. They need a wing. I went with Buzelis because he is going to be, supposedly the better 3-point shooter. I personally like Ron Holland a lot, but I think Buzelis is just the perfect fit for the Blazers here at number 7. At number 8, we are back with the San Antonio Spurs. They got Zachary Riza-Shea earlier in the draft. I think there's a clear guy that they have to take here, and that is Stephon Castle. I like Stephon Castle a ton, and for him to go from playing UConn basketball over to playing with Greg Popovich on the Spurs, this would be amazing. Stephon Castle is a guy that is going to do all things on the basketball court. He can score, especially driving. He can pass the ball. He can work in an offense. He can rebound as a guard. He can play the shooting guard, or he could play the point guard position for you as well. But I think the Spurs have to get a guard with one of these two picks, and Stephon Castle, honestly, I think he could 100% go higher. I could see him going 6 to the Hornets. I could even see him going maybe a little bit higher, but honestly, if he does make it past 6, I think this would be a pretty good landing spot for him, especially with some of the other guards off the board for the Spurs. This would be a great fit, though. This would be a great fit. I like Stephon Castle a lot as kind of like a Derek White type of guy. Derek White for the Celtics, who can just kind of do it all for you, and he's great defensively as well, which you are definitely going to need there at the guard position. Next up, we have the Grizzlies. No question about it. Clingan is not making it past 9. Donovan Clingan has been, the Grizzlies guy that they have wanted for a while now. A lot of people were like, if they fell to 9 in the lottery, they're probably not going to be able to get their guy in Clingan, but this is the absolute furthest he drops. He's probably going to go higher than this, but with the way I had this mock draft going, a lot of guards went higher than expected. Clingan falls, and he doesn't make it past the Grizzlies at number 9. I mean, this is the exact type of player that they want. They want a center who can fill that role next to Jaren Jackson Jr., and that just fits perfectly, honestly. If the Grizzlies get him, that would be the steal of the draft, but I do like a lot of the fits that I had going before them, so we do have Clingan falling here to number 9. Number 10, we do have the Utah Jazz, and there's another guy that I think is the clear best player available right now, and that is Ron Holland. Ron Holland has one of the highest ceilings in this draft. This is exactly the type of pick that Utah Jazz need to make. They don't really have much going for them. They have Lauri Markkanen, but Lauri Markkanen might not be on the Jazz. I'm sure that, knowing how Danny Ainge works, he's going to, build some of these guys up, trade them for picks, especially with the Jazz being early in this rebuild. So you need to go best player available right there. I think Ron Holland makes a lot of sense. Next up, we do have the Chicago Bulls here at number 11, and I do have them going with a wing in Dalton Knecht. I think, with DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine maybe not going to be there next year for the Chicago Bulls, you have a good backcourt in Ayo and also Kobe White. So your backcourt is set. What you need is to either get front court pieces or some wings, maybe a small forward. Dalton Knecht, best player available in my opinion, and he has a position of need and has some potential. Yes, he is a little bit older at 22 years old, but we've seen some of these older guys, that doesn't really mean too much to me, to be honest. I don't mind drafting, seniors out of college. A lot of people, would kind of not want to do that. They want to draft freshmen. They want to draft guys with more potential. But we've seen guys like Jaime Jaquez last year for the Heat, who was a 4-year player in college. J-Dub for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Guys that were older, got drafted, playing pretty good. I don't mind this pick at all. I don't mind the age at all. I think Dalton Knecht, at this point, best player available. Chicago Bulls, position in need, they take him there. Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City here with the 12th pick. I mean, they are a championship contender right now. They're knotted up 2-2 with the Dallas Mavericks for a chance to go to the Western Conference Finals. So for them to have this pick still from Houston is insane. I mean, Sam Presti is just an absolute genius, let's be honest. But they could go, a couple of different ways here. Isaiah Collier, definitely a player that I think is super underrated. Would not surprise me if he went in the lottery. Jacoby Walter, I'm not as high on, but it wouldn't surprise me if somebody took him in the lottery. But with OKC having guys like Gasson Wallace, who they took last year, playing really good as a backup guard, you could go with a guy like Jared McCain. You could definitely go with Jared McCain, who is a lot further down on this board than mine. one of the best shooters in this class. You could definitely go with Jared McCain, but a little bit undersized. I actually went with them taking a guy who is a lot further down on their board than mine, and that is Khalil Ware. I think that he would be the perfect backup center for Chet Holmgren and this Oklahoma City Thunder team right now. I think they need some backup bigs. Yes, they do have Jay Will, who has been pretty good, but Khalil Ware is going to be a stretch 5. He is going to be able to shoot the rock lights out and also defend, come in there, give you a little bit of, a stronger body on defense for sure than Chet. Chet Holmgren is a great shot blocker, but, he doesn't really have the muscle yet to bang in there with the big guys. I think Khalil Ware could come in there and help you with that at the backup center position. Would this be a reach? Not necessarily. I have Khalil Ware, around my 15-ish range as far as my big board. So I don't think this is too big of a reach. He's 26 on ESPN's big board. I think that's way too low. I think Khalil Ware is going to be awesome stretch 5 in the NBA and is one of the more underrated players in this draft class. Sacramento Kings. Sacramento Kings is interesting. There's a guy that I do really like for them here, and that is Jared McCain. Jared McCain, I just think he's got to go lottery. With how good of a shooter he was in college, he's got to go with the lottery, and I really do like the fit here with the Kings. I think, Kevin Huerter, I think Jared McCain could end up being a better shooter than Kevin Huerter. He is that good of a shooter. They're going to need shooting around De'Aaron Fox in that backcourt. Jared McCain goes 13. And we have our last pick of the lottery. Earlier, the Blazers took Buzelis with the 7th pick. Now they do have the 14th pick. And they could go, a couple of different options. I don't think that they need guards, even though there are some great guards available. You could go with Zach Edey. I'm higher on Zach Edey than most people. Some people think he might not go to 2nd round, late 1st round. It wouldn't surprise me if he went to a position like here where they might not, can be completely all in on DeAndre Ayton. You get Zach Edey in there, give him a chance. I wouldn't hate a guy like Devin Carter going here. Tristan Da Silva, even though you did just take a small forward. But the guy I actually ended up going with is Tyler Smith from G League Ignite. I think that he can give you kind of a big man presence, a guy who can stretch the floor. He can go in there at the power forward position. Yeah, you do have Jeremy Grant, but this is a guy who, kind of reminds you a little bit of like a Jeremy Grant, but I don't see him being, a Trailblazer too much longer. He just doesn't kind of fit with the young mold that this Trailblazers team is trying to build. So Tyler Smith heads on over there to the Blazers, and that is going to round out our lottery mock draft. Next time, probably sometime next week, we will do a full 1st round mock draft with trades. So make sure you guys subscribe for that. I will also drop my top 50 players big board, my top 50 NBA draft prospects. If you guys are looking forward for that, we're going to have, college basketball video updates here on the channel as well. Some NBA offseason stuff. So a lot of good stuff coming. Make sure you guys subscribe. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.